Hi class, today's lesson is lesson 7-8. Our purpose for this lesson is to write decimals and fractions as percents. The other day we learned how to make percents into decimals and fractions. This time we're going to do the reverse, decimals and fractions back into percents. No vocabulary for today, and we're going to go straight to our first example. It says, write each decimal as a percent. Use place value. Here we have 3/10. What we're going to do with 3/10 is we're going to write that as a fraction first. So 3/10 looks like 3/10. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is because we know percents is per hundred, we're going to go ahead and we'll find an equivalent fraction that has 100 as a denominator. In order to get from 10 to 100, we of course multiply by 10. We multiply by 10 up here. We get 30 out of 100. 30 per 100 means that is 30%. Okay. Same thing here with 4300s. 4300s is actually easier for us. It's 43 out of 100, or 4300s, which means 43 per 100, or 43%. Once we get it into the hundredths form of the fraction, we then have the numerator representing that certain percent. Let's take a look at the second example. Here it says write each decimal as a percent, and this time we're going to multiply by 100. Now, when we multiply by 100, we of course move the decimal. We can move the decimal point over to place values. We've learned that a few months ago. So multiplying by 100 here, just move the decimal place over. 1, 2, so 23 thousandths becomes 2.3%. Once again, we're just moving that decimal point over to place values. That's the same thing as multiplying by 100. So I'm going to write that down, or moving decimal 2 places to the right. So what is 7,431 10,000ths as a percent? Well, let's multiply by 100, or move the decimal over 2 place values. 1, 2, and what we get is 74.31%. That was easy. Let's go ahead and take a look at now taking a fraction, writing each fraction as a percent. Here the first method is write an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100. So 4/5, if I multiplied 4/5 times 20 over 20, I know 5 times 20 is 100, so that's what I want, because it's percent is per 100. 4 times 20 is 80, so 80 per 100, 80%. That's how you do it with equivalent fractions. Another way in which we can do that is we can simply divide. It says write each fraction as a percent. Use division to write the fraction as a decimal. So now I know that 3/8 is equivalent to 3 divided by 8. I know I'm going to have to use some decimals here. So here we go. 8 into 3 goes 0 times. 8 into 30 goes about 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24. When I subtract, I get a 6, and I'm dropping down that 0. 8 goes into 60. Well, it goes into 67 times. 7 times 8 is 56. Again, subtract, I get a 4. This time I'm going to go ahead and add another 0, bring that down. Look what happens. 8 goes into 45 times. 5 times 8 is 40. Subtract these, I don't have a remainder. So 3/8 is equivalent to 375 thousandths. But what is that as a percent? Well, once again, we're going to go ahead and use that method we learned. In the previous example, we're just going to multiply by 100 or move the decimal place over two place values. 1, 2. Now, our percent is 37.5%. 37.5. Now here's your problem. It's a word problem. It says about 39/50ths of the Earth's atmosphere is made of nitrogen. About what percent of the atmosphere is nitrogen? Well, the first thing I want you to do is estimate. 39/50ths. First thing I got to do is figure out, is that less than a half or is that more than a half? Well, that is more than a half. More than a half, so I'm going to put greater than 1/2 of the Earth's atmosphere is made up of nitrogen. So I know it's going to be greater than 50% because I know 1/2 is equivalent to 50%. So here's my estimate. It's going to be greater than 50%. Now, what are you going to do in order to find what 39/50ths is as a percent? We'll see you in class.